Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
We're gonna have everybody mute though, so just a second. And
Uh,
once we get started, you can unmute if we have questions, which I'll mention as we get started here. We still have some people coming in, so we'll give it one more minute.
okay.
All right, in the interest of time, we'll get started here. As people come in, we'll add them in. Make sure you're muted to start off the meeting, and as we get going, we will allow you to unmute and ask questions. But we'll get started here. And this recording is being recorded. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the new team manager meeting for the fall 2025. I'm Jamil Walker, and Executive Director for NCSL. On the call with me is our League Administrator, Allison Smith. I just wanted to start by thanking everyone for being here tonight. I know, balancing work and travel and getting ready for school, your kids for school, and all your responsibilities. I appreciate you taking the time. Tonight it's all about getting everyone prepared for the season, feeling confident in your role as a team manager, sharing kind of our league operations, how we would like to work with you, and the important rules that we have and the tools and resources that we have to share. And hopefully everyone gets off to the season starting smoothly. Like I said, this meeting is being recorded, and we'll post it to YouTube and send out a link so everyone can review the information. We'll also send out the slides so that you can read the information that's presented here as well. And as always, you can contact your club rep, which we'll go over how that works, to contact us or ask them questions, or contact us, contact your club rep to contact the league when you have questions. I'll pause periodically throughout the meeting. So if you have a question, you can just unmute and ask it, or you can use the chat. Allison will be monitoring the chat. So if you have a question you don't want to unmute or talk, you can put it in the chat, and Allison will do her best to answer those questions or ask them for you in the meeting. Let's get started. So the purpose here is, by the end of this meeting, we hope that you understand, how the NCSL works and where it fits in the broad scheme of the landscape, so you understand where NCSL is in the soccer pyramid. Your responsibilities, obviously, as a team administrator. We say team manager, team administrator kind of goes back interchangeable. So sometimes I'll say team manager, sometimes I'll say team administrator. As a coach, I usually say manager, but some clubs call it differently. So as a league, we say team administrator, but might be manager as well. We'll also talk about how the administrator, Allison, and the club reps, which you should know, we'll talk about where to find that information, support you in your efforts and in your role. And they'll go over game day procedures, rescheduling, and then R&D, or so rules of discipline policies that we have. And then also as well, show you where you can find a lot of information, really helpful information on the website that you can use throughout the season as reminders. So overall, here's the landscape of where NCSL is in the landscape, the youth soccer landscape. The league was founded in the 1970s. It's one of the largest youth soccer travel leagues in the country. Fun fact, I actually played in this league back in the day, when in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Very similar structure to it is now. Promotion relegation, which is uncommon nowadays, but was the thing back in the day. You had to win to move up, and you had to obviously winning Division I was a big thing. So I'm very familiar with the league from both having played in it and now working with it. We're affiliated with youth soccer through the state association, so Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia. Those state associations handle the player registrations. And we have over 1,300 teams across U9 to U19. So it's one of the largest leagues in the country. We have member clubs in VA, Maryland, DC, Virginia. Occasionally we had some teams from Pennsylvania, but not so much anymore. We are governed by a board of directors. So the board of directors are, each club has one club rep that represents the club as a board of director within the league. And everything is member driven. So everything is run through the club reps or the clubs themselves when decisions are made for the league. There's a staff that reports to the board, myself, Allison, and then we have an executive committee as well, a president, treasurer, and different commissioners that internally help with the decision making and logistics. We schedule over 12,000 games per year, which, thanks to Allison and all her efforts, is a grand scale. So it requires good communication and coordination between the leagues, clubs, and team admins, which is really critical. So your role in that is to make we have to manage, and so it's important that communication is flowing between the reps and yourself. Here's the picture of the landscape of US youth soccer or soccer in general in our area. Obviously, starting with FIFA, going down to US Soccer, which is the entire country, US Youth Soccer, which is our governing body, and then the state associations for Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia. And within that, we are a member. And then obviously from down there, from the board of directors, which I mentioned, which are the club reps, the executive committee, myself and Allison, the staff, and then the team administrators, team managers, coaches, players, parents. I know as a coach, having coached in NCSL before, a team administrator or team manager could be critical. So a lot of the information we're sharing with you is to help facilitate your success in helping your coach, your team, have a good game day experience, and just make it easier for them to do what they need to do on the field. So just want to kind of lay out the picture here. So your role as a team administrator is the primary contact for team communication and team organization, basically getting your team prepared to play. And then if there's any issues, communicating, being conduit for your club reps and the league. So you're communicating to your club rep. The club rep is then communicating to us. You manage the schedules and share updates with your team. You're the one that manages the roster, the player cards. You're reporting the scores. You're communicating field closures to the team, not to the league, but to the team. And then whenever there's a reschedule or any changes, you're communicating that as well to your teams. So dealing with the communication internally from the league or the club reps to the team. You just distribute that information again from the club reps and the leagues to your team. We'll have I listed here team administrator season checklist and game day cheat sheet, which you'll find on the website. We're going to go through that as well, so you can see where all the resources are to kind of review prior to your first game. So how does the club rep support you? But basically, they're now, obviously every club has lots of teams in the NCSL. The league doesn't want to have to manage each team individually, each coach individually, each parent. So we've designated a club rep to be the link for your club and all the teams within that club that play NCSL to communicate with the league. So we don't directly contact coaches or managers, team managers, or parents directly. That does occasionally happen, but we will go through always CCing. Even if you did contact us, we would go through the club rep to respond. Communications between your club rep, and the club rep will then communicate to the league. They have all the understanding of and experience, honestly, of how to deal with every issue, and they oftentimes can solve it before going to the league. And they can provide. They're actually a good resource for information. So if you don't have an answer, you need to find information. Your club rep will be the one that helps you. And again, I'll show you where that is on the website. If you don't know your club rep already, we'll show you where to find that information. And then also you should give your information to the club rep so that they can email you, call you, and obviously they should have that information ready, but if they don't, then they should know you're the point of contact for the team. Like I said before, the club rep handles the schedule requests and field closures. So they're going to communicate to you when that happens. The clubs will determine whether or not there's a field of it. They're ones that if a field closes or decides when a field's closed, and we'll talk about what that process is like. But they're going to be the one that lets you know when there's a schedule request. They handle the request to the league. So if you have a request that you want to make, you tell your club rep, and the club rep will then pass it on to the league. The club rep also resolves disputes and addresses rules that you might have, or addresses rule questions that you might have. And their contact, like I said, is available under the club tab on the NCSO website, which we'll walk through, showing you where that is. I'll pause for a second if there's any questions there. And then finally, kind of walking through the main points of contact here, the league administrator, Allison, or myself. Allison is the one that oversees basically all the logistics for the league, the scheduling, maintaining the team pages, posting the field closures, updating schedules when there is an update, and reschedules games due to weather conflicts. She obviously has other things that she manages as well, but from your perspective, how she supports you is managing the schedule and any updates to your team pages. So the club, again, she works with the club reps. You work with the club reps to talk to the league, which will likely be Allison to manage any changes or any issues that you might have. And when there is a reschedule, it'll be posted directly to your team page, and only then will it be officially made. I put the deadlines here for rescheduling deadlines for the fall through flex scheduling, which we'll talk about in a little bit. August 29th for all September games and September 19th for all October and November games, excuse me. This is high level kind of the key players in how you want to think about your role in the club rep and then the league. All right, we're going to jump to the website just so you can look at it real quick. And Allison, if there's anything I missed, let me know. So you should see the website now, and a lot of information we'll kind of quickly go over. But if you haven't been to the website, check it out. But there's a couple of things I want you to kind of note here. A lot of information on the left-hand side of the page, where there's quick links to checklists and cheat sheets, game score reporting, field directions. You'll see a link to the recording after this is done. This was from the spring, but you'll see the fall version of this with the slides here. There's lots of good information and resources along with the rules and procedures. On the left-hand side is kind of jumping points into different resources for you to use. Now, getting to your team pages, your club pages is underneath the clubs link. You'll notice there's a login link up here. Excuse me, that's not for you. That's for the league login. So you won't ever use this top hand right hand corner league login, but you will use the one built into the clubs page. So you'll go to the clubs and say, for example, I'm at Arlington and I want to look at the Arlington clubs page. You'll see at the bottom of that page, if you scroll down, the NCSL club rep is Melissa Reamer. And her contact information. So if you don't know your club rep now, that's where you'll find it within your club page. You'll go to clubs, excuse me, then click on your club and then go down to the bottom and see the club contact. You also list to see your club fields, which you should know, but this goes for any club. You can look at any club's information. If you want to know where a field is, you can go to that club and then click on their field directions. Within that, say I was coaching the Arlington 2017 girls dash team. I would click into that to see my team. Okay. And from there, I would see my schedule and the calendar for that team. And this is where, correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, this is where team managers would log in. So this is your login link. It's kind of 3 levels down since you're at the team specific kind of level. You would only log into the teams that you're assigned to or your manager for from this point here. And this is where we'll talk about getting to seeing your team's team information, the cards for your team, and things like that. Flex rescheduling would be built, I believe, underneath there as well. The clubs themselves, the club reps have access to a different login that allows them to see kind of more of an overview of all the teams. So there's kind of levels to that. So your login would be into the team itself. And like I said, the club rep information can be found at the bottom of any of the pages. Actually, the club rep page, right, shows it here. Or sorry, the club page shows the club rep. So that's where information found. All right. Just wanted to show you that real quick, high level, kind of the website and where the information is. And there's lots of resources on here, along with, for example, the field status one. Okay. Whenever there's a field closed, it will be posted here. All fields are open today. Any questions with that? Jump back to the presentation. All right, we'll walk through these two links here real quick. These are two key resources which you'll find on the website, as I just mentioned. The team admin season checklist, which outlines specific actions and that you need for the preseason, pregame, game day, postgame. Much of what you should have already been done in preparation, but then also getting ready for the season, your first game. Like I said, the team administrator is critical to kind of the success of the team and helping the coach be at their best and help the referees. It's pretty much the game day experience, as well as just logistically organizing and preparing your team. So it's important that you kind of understand your role, and I'll jump to that right now. Here's the link to that, and I would print it out and have it ready, or download to your computer so you can kind of review it on your own. At this point in time, you're getting your teams set up. Preseason is right now, and games are coming up. So here's a list of obviously everything that you need to get ready to go to get your team ready. Some critical things, for example, sharing the code of conduct with your teams, which I think is important. We want your game day experience is going to depend on conduct and how well players and parents and coaches are behaving. And so knowing that and having that information, sending that out to them prior to the games is important. Obviously, the basics, logistics, getting the team registered and having the rosters ready to go. Identifying your team sportsmanship liaison is a concept that we have where it supports you, right? You're not always on the sideline of the parents. You might be with the coach. You want to designate a parent to be the team sportsmanship liaison, which is somebody who is the adult on this side of adults, the adult with the fans, the one that is going to calm things down, the cooler head on the sidelines, help the referee, help the parents calm down while they're watching the game, and be the one that is helping you and the coach. Because at the end of the day, the coach is the one that can be penalized for the behavior of the parents. A referee can cancel a game and call a forfeit and things like that if the parents are causing problems. And we have we'll talk about this later, but we have a lot of referee issues, shortages because of the behavior towards referees from parents and from coaches as well. So we instituted this a long time ago. I'm not even exactly sure when, but team sportsmanship liaison is somebody who helps maintain a level of respect and decorum on the sidelines. Like I said, there's a number of things you want to do before the season starts. Check your sit-out list, which is basically players who received red cards in the prior season at the end of the season but hadn't served their setup. So the last game of the season, they got a red card, or they accumulated enough points to get a sit-out. They owe a sit-out for the first game of the next game that's able to do that, which might be this first game for this season. So you want to make sure you check that list and make sure that you complete the sit-out form so they don't get penalized for having missed that sit-out. Some other ones that maybe look out here that might be important. I think all of it is you should review everything. Is to have. I know when my manager had a binder with all probably 20 copies of the roster printed out, right, and extra player cards, and just to make sure you have extra of everything, just in case stuff gets lost or damaged. You want to have a printed copy of your roster. Player cards can be electronic. I believe rosters can be too, but I don't know if you want to be printed out so the referee has it. The referees use the rosters to do the game reports. Obviously, mark out who got yellow cards and things like that. Mark the score, any incidents that happen. They use that and submit that to the league. So it's important that you have that and give that to them as part of the check-in. Again, just quickly kind of going over some of the things that maybe not used to doing. Pre-game communication. If you're the home team administrator, it's common practice for us to communicate with the other team 48 hours before the game, give them information about, the side that they're sitting on, which bench is the home and away, what color your uniform is, if there's any changes to that, where the bathrooms are, directions if there's a weird way, there's some Google Maps takes you the wrong way. It's not exactly where the field is, things like that. You want to, as best you can, make it, as a good game, good host. And you want to give as much information. There's an example of an email, if you click on the link, to show kind of some of the information that is shared, and to just get used to communicating with other team administrators, because you'll be working with each other during the game to help the referee with check-in, check the score afterwards, things like that. So review all of that. And during the game, I would say, it's important that you show up early, probably 15 minutes before the game starts. You meet the referee, you have your binder, you have all the cards, you introduce yourselves, you help the coaches usually often dealing with warm-ups and not necessarily focused on the referees and the check-in process. You're the one that manages kind of all the other stuff, making sure that the benches are ready to go, the sidelines where the parents are is okay, and everyone knows where to stand. No one's standing behind the goals, things like that. And then you're obviously helping the referee get the game started, which is checking the players. You can help out with that as well, calling out the names if they ask, if they need you to. You can ask them what they need. Basically verifying the referees, that are going to be there, and then helping them check in the players. Once the game starts, you obviously can enjoy the game like everyone else. If you have, one thing that we want to note here is that sideline passes are necessary for anyone who's sitting on the side of the team. I know that's not always the case with sometimes the parents being on the same side, but if they're in the coaching area, you have to have up to four people can have sideline passes. So the referee can dismiss regular parents from the coaching area, from the team area, if they don't have a sideline pass. So it's for staff only. So you yourself as a team administrator, the coach or coaching staff or any assistant coaches, and then anyone else you might have that you want to have on the sideline. Maybe somebody's filming the game. You want to give them a sideline pass. Maybe you have a physio, something like that. So a lot of information in this. I don't want to go through everything, but you could ask questions if something doesn't make sense. But that information is on the website as well. And I want to kind of quickly go over some of that information. I think it's relevant. Oops, someone's drawing on my screen. There you go. Moving on to the next thing. Oops. Next slide. Like I mentioned, game day procedure, just a quick overview. Bring your USU soccer roster, which I'll show you an example of that in a second. Meet the crew, verify the crew. And then the home team is the one to make sure that the game is ready to play. The field readiness, the goals are secure, the nets are secure, the flags are up, the field's lined, things like that. That's not all your team manager's responsibility, but when you get to the field, if you note those things are not in place, either call your club rep or talk to your coach about getting those things set up. After the game, both teams can report, but usually it's the winning team that does it, and only one is accepted. So within 24 hours, we'd like to get the game posted, score posted. Usually it's the winning team that does it. If it's a tie, then the home team does it. And it's the first team to do it. So you don't both have to do it. If you see the game hasn't been posted, you could do it if you're the away team or the team that lost. But once it's submitted, it's only going to accept it once, and it will allow you to do it more than once. Just some general kind of outline for understanding the roster limits for the different age groups, and a couple of different key differences between the age groups. So U9, U10, as everyone knows, hopefully knows, is the non-competitive in terms of like like promotion relegation, because we don't post scores. We keep score, we keep track of the scores in terms of what was reported to us, but it's not used for rankings and it's not something that we keep posted to the website. Roster size is 12 max on the game day. There's a build out line. There's no heading involved. So you have to be familiar with the different rules of the game. The coaches do too. So if you haven't, there's a link to explain kind of what the build out line is. At this point in time, if you're a U9, you're probably not used to playing in games with heading. I think if you've played before, it probably doesn't allow it. But if this is now a new thing in the last couple of years now, where heading is not allowed for U9 and U10. So if it accidentally hits a player's head, is usually an indirect kick at that point in time. There's the whole rules that FIFA, US Soccer has instituted for that. Like I said, the game results are not public, and the divisions are usually based on club feedback, geography, trying to reduce the travel. It is competitive, so we do want to put into a sense of like level of play, but not necessarily trying to enforce more of a developmental environment as opposed to winner promotion relegation. At this level, you should sometimes only expect, and most times only expect, one referee, which I know can be frustrating, but please understand that they're doing their best. It's one referee. It's usually, it can be an older referee, somebody maybe not be able to keep up with play as often. The game is fast and they're going to make mistakes, but at this age, it's about having fun and developing, and not necessarily win at all costs. So if referee misses an offside because you need really a linesman to see it, there's going to be mistakes. At all these age groups, there are limited club passes. So what does that club pass mean? Well, I'll kind of walk you through that in a second. I'll just go through the rest of these. U11, U12, it just increases the max size to 16. No heading until U12. In U11, spring is the first season that we have where there's the idea of divisions. So we start the promotion relegation concept at U11, the spring of the U11 going into the U12 season is the first season you'll start to see numbered divisions as opposed to letters and groupings. So the U9 and U10 and then fall of U11 are the developmental phase that we want teams to more focus on the developmental and as opposed to the results. And then U13 and up is regular promotion relegations, divisions 1 through as many as 10 or 20, not 20, but 10 or so divisions. And it's promotion relegation from that point. Roster max of 18 on the game day, unlimited club passes. So what is a club pass? A club pass is a player who has a US Youth Soccer card that's from the same club, that is age eligible, that just happens to play on another team that you want to use for that game. So it might be a situation where your team is short a goalkeeper, but the team, the second team or the third team or a different age group, a younger age group, has a goalkeeper available, and you want to use that player for your team. You can club pass them. So they have to be within the club and they have to be a US Youth Soccer club carded, US Youth Soccer. So that you might have other programs in your club, say ECNL or MLS Next in your club. They, technically speaking, unless they have a club US Youth Soccer card, they cannot play in our league. Now the club can get them a card. Okay, so it's not impossible. You can have them be carded. It's just that they need that first to be able to be club passed. Those leagues are not within the US Youth Soccer pyramid. I should have mentioned that earlier, but that's the only stipulation. The idea here is not to load your team up with MLS Next players just because you want to win a game. It's to supplement. It's to help out in a pinch. Hey, or there's a player maybe is deserving. Maybe a player who's on the team below is doing well, or a player that's maybe above and is struggling for minutes and wants to move down. And that allows them a flexibility. The coaches can talk about it, obviously, and the managers can facilitate adding a player to the roster when needed. So again, we want to use it when it's necessary, not necessarily as a way to gain an advantage. Other things that the leagues allow is players to play in more than one NCSL per day. Teams can only have one game, but a player can play in multiple games. That's also to help facilitate any shortages of rosters that you might have. So if your team has injuries, the team has extra players, they played in the morning, you guys play in the afternoon, you can club pass those players and they can play in 2 games. All right. I mentioned this already. U.S. Youth Soccer state approved rosters ready for check-in. That's what the referees use to do their game reports and then report the games afterwards. I'll pause for questions. Hopefully everything's making sense. Here's an example of what the roster will look like, I believe from, I don't know if this is up to date, but it should be pretty close to what it looks like. Basically the things to note here are it's an official roster from USU Soccer. So it could be the Virginia, Maryland, or West Virginia State Association. The pictures are there, the game number, the team number, and the date of the game are there as well. So you want to print those out for the game. And then at the bottom, you'll see guest players or club pass players that you have added to the roster. Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can handwrite in them as well if needed.
Yes, if you have club pass players that are participating in the game, you can handwrite their names on the roster, but you will need to have an electronic or a paper copy of their player card.
Yes. So we allow electronic cards or paper cards if you print them out and laminate them, or it doesn't be laminated, but printed out cards as well to check in. So either one. I mentioned this already. We have a mandatory program that we instituted, team sportsmanship liaisons, before each match, and I mentioned what the purpose was before. Game or score reporting. So after the game is over, you verified after you go with the referee, you look at verify the score. You check the list of yellow cards and red cards just to verify that the right player got them. Okay, that's important. You want to make sure that those things are in place. And then after the game, you can go to the website. I'll just show that where that is. And then you click on game reporting link. And then you'll follow this process after you get started. You'll enter in the PIN number, which is 3101. Yes, 3101. So you'll click the get started button, enter in the PIN, enter in the game number. Do we have games in the schedule now or no? Probably not, right? I don't know if there's anything listed. It should be. Yes. All right. So at the game, you'll see a game number that you're reporting for. So you have to note that, the team names, and then the final score. So just so you have that. So you want to go to the website, game reporting link, and then go to that PIN number 3101, game number, team names, final score. And the website will be updated. All right. In the event that the field conditions do not allow for the game to be played, the club reps are the ones, or the clubs themselves are the ones that are responsible for reporting that to the NCSL, reporting that the game can't be played due to either a closure due to weather or for some reason the game is unplayable. Only the club reps can report that, though. The teams themselves cannot decide based on the conditions that they feel like it can't be played. It has to be an official from the club that reports that. So if you email us or call us saying, "Oh, I feel like we can't play today, it's too much, it's too waterlogged," we're going to wait till the club rep to verify that information. Once that happens, the clubs will then notify you that it has been closed, and then Allison will update the website, and you'll see it officially closed. At that point in time, you can contact your team if they haven't arrived at the field already, to let them know. So even if you feel like the game might be canceled, you should still go to the field, and the club will determine whether or not the game. Sometimes it'll be a delay. It might not be canceled, or maybe moved to another field where the conditions are not as bad. So only when you receive the confirmation from your club rep and the website is updated that you should obviously not play the game. If a field is closed, games may be moved to another field, like I just said, or shifted to the opponent's field if there's prior enough notice to do that and agreed upon. Referee also can be the authority to determine whether a game is playable, and in that case, the game would not be played, and that would be notified the club rep, and the club rep would notify us. Your club rep will always be the point of contact whenever you need to have information sent to the league or given to the league, because they will be the ones that can verify and then make the final decision to notify the league. Rescheduling. The basic thing about rescheduling is that the requests are going to come. You can submit a request to your club rep. They are going to be able to check to make sure that they have the field permits and the times to be able to make those changes. And then they will submit it to the league for approval. So you might have a conversation with the other team about a change. You need to notify and follow the flex rescheduling process, which we will outline here. And there's a video to show you how to do that. And then the club rep will then handle it.
Couple of things, if you don't mind, Jamil, I mentioned, just a couple of overall guidelines for the flex rescheduling. They reserve rain dates, which are at the end of the season. It's always the second to last Saturday and then the very last Saturday and Sunday, which this year is November 1st, November 8th, and November 9th. Those dates are not eligible for requests to reschedule. So if you and your opposing team are already talking about rescheduling, please do not ask to reschedule to November 1st, 8th, or 9th, because those requests will be denied. And then secondly, the requests are only valid for one time for each of your games. So if you reschedule a game, you and your opposing team decide to reschedule a game, that's fine. If it's approved by the home team club rep and there's a field, that's fine. But then you can't come back another week or so later and say, oh, whoops, we need to redo it again, because they're only allowed to reschedule one time. And that's just to help the referee assigners not reassign referees and then reassign and reassign. So the flex schedule request is you're only allowed to use it one time for each of your games. We just want to make sure that's out there. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Any questions with that? So just a couple other reminders about the flex rescheduling, which I wanted to note here. What I mentioned already, but the club home team will want to check with their club rep to make sure that the field space is available before submitting the request. Game reschedules are a request only, so the league reserves the right to final approval. Okay, so don't, just because you want to doesn't necessarily mean that we will allow it. Oftentimes, if it creates a gap in the scheduling, because we want to make sure that the referees are there for the game, because it's hard to play these games without referees. We want to make sure that they are able to fulfill that request as well. So that oftentimes, if it creates a large gap, referees aren't going to go to a single off game and travel to a single off game if they can't do back-to-back games. So their schedules are often put together like that, so that it makes it easier for them to fulfill their obligations. So a change that creates a single standalone games oftentimes creates concerns for us, and so we don't always approve those. Sometimes I do if there's no choice, but be aware that that's also part of the process. These are just requests, and we don't necessarily fulfill them. The home club rep must finalize the request by emailing the league. So that's part of the process that you guys are out of the loop on in terms of controlling that communication. You communicate to your club rep. The club rep was the one that deals with the request. And unless the change has been posted to the team page, it's not been accepted yet, even though you guys have talked about it maybe between your teams. So the deadlines, like I mentioned before, August 29th for all of the September games and September 19th for all of the October and November games. If there is a rain out, games are automatically rescheduled for the next available date that each of those teams have. And then from there, you can, I believe, Aston, you can use flex rescheduling to make a change if that doesn't, for some reason, doesn't work. So that we automatically reschedule if the field gets closed, games canceled, like today, probably a lot of practices canceled, it will automatically pick the next available date for both teams. And then you can use flex rescheduling from that point in time to make changes. On the website within your team page is and a video can be found in the NCSL frequently asked questions section on the left-hand side on how to submit those reschedule requests. On to the fun stuff. So that's pretty much the role of the team manager, team administrator. Like I said, there's the success of the team oftentimes is having somebody who's very organized and preparing everything, make sure the coaches has their ducks in a row so that the team could be the best prepared for these games. in terms of the rules and discipline and the referees, we want to note a couple of things that the parents should know. And if your coaches don't know already, there's a lot of changes that are happening in this last year, especially if you're new. USU Soccer has significantly increased the penalties for referee abuse. And if you're not familiar with those updated policies, I suggest you follow this link and read about them. There are a lot stronger sanctions, and especially for any abuse against a minor, so a referee younger than 18, it's double the penalty. It could be lifetime bans. That's significant. It's something as simple as saying, referee, you're blind, verbal abuse. So they're being very strict on this because of what I'm about to mention in the next slide. Is we're losing referees constantly, and it's very difficult. We used to have a large pool, and it's dwindling every year. Less and less people want to referee. And the number one cited reason is verbal abuse from coaches and parents on the game days. And at the end of the day, this is just youth soccer. We can't play these games without the referees. So we encourage the managers, the coaches, the club reps, the leaders of the club. We're very vocal as a league in trying to help us maintain a good game day experience. So USU Soccer is now following that path and has updated their referee abuse policy to conclude pretty much what we consider prior very minor, verbal taunts or whatever, to be significant penalties. So review that link. As a league, we have an R&D committee, R&D chairman, and an R&D committee that reads the referee reports. Every referee is required to submit a report of the game, and in order to get paid. So we review everything, and if there is a complaint or you feel like there's an issue that was not properly reported, you can submit resolve those protests basically to have us review it. There's a process to do that. Club reps will know that process, but basically, if there's something that happens that you feel like is an issue or wasn't properly resolved by the referee, you can submit a report about that. R&D committee is responsible for dealing with abandoned, terminated games, serious infractions, obviously any violence towards a referee, any abuse. We have to report it now to the state association, and issue team fines up to $800 and suspend players, coaches, managers, or entire teams for inappropriate behavior. So fighting and things like that. Players will be, removed from, or coaches can be removed from coaching a team or coaching an NCSL altogether. We'll talk about the database points, cards, and the system that we have that maintains, that tracks all of these. So we'll go to that next. But we'll show you where this is. So on the team page, I showed you kind of where your team page was. Once you log in, it will look something like this. The redacted information right here, but your club information, your team information will be here. And persons receiving a card will have a link at the top, kind of the top middle page, which will show you the list of players who have received a yellow card or a red card and how many points they've accumulated. We'll talk about what that means in a second. Again, it'll be at the bottom of the page. It'll tell you your team, the player name, or if it's team staff, and then their number of points they've accumulated based on the carding that they've received so far. So on your team page, which I highlighted before how to log into that'll be a link there to see that. You need to track that and make sure you're aware of anybody who owes a sit out. Throwing a lot at you, I know. Here are the points for cards received. Just take a note of this, and again, you can review it at any point in time. 20 points gets you a sit out. So is 20 points, 10 points. Sorry. 2 yellow cards, or obviously a red card. And then max points earned by a player in each match could be 15. But if you get 2 yellow cards or accumulate cards over a number of period of time, it could get you to sit out as well. Okay, so keep in mind that we keep track of these, and then they can accumulate over the season. Is it 20? I thought it was 20 points. Max points earned by coach in a match. Alice, do you know? I thought it was 20 points. And then you have to sit out.
Sorry, I was doing the chat. What did you ask?
Yes, there it is. Accumulate 20 points and you have to sit out a match. I was correct.
Yeah.
So if a player gets a yellow card, yellow card, yellow card, yellow card, so 4 games in a row they get a yellow card, they're gonna have to sit out the 5th game. Obviously, if they get a red card, you have to sit out a game. Okay. So accumulating points throughout the season also can result in a sit out. First, for coaches, it's slightly different. Okay, in terms of the number, how the points are counted. Obviously, a red card sits you out, but we'll go over that as well. And here they are to sit out. 1 match, obviously a red card, accumulate 20 points, you get to sit out. Every 10 points after your 20, you get to sit out a match. So we're not going to be the one that is policing this. So it's in terms of making, we make sure we'll check at the end after the fact. But if we find out you haven't sat out a game, or a player hasn't sat out, and you even if you didn't know after receiving a red card, you didn't sit out that nice game, we find that out, the player could be suspended for another 3 games. So it's important that you as managers check that list to make sure that a player isn't playing that's ineligible to play. And then that you fill out the sit out form, which will show you what that looks like. So basically you need to verify that the player sit out to the referee. There's a form you fill out that shows or kind of highlights that they have sat out a game, confirms. So failure to sit out results in a harsh penalties, match forfeitures, or game suspensions. So track the points, track the cards. It's easy if a player gets a red card, but tracking points is something that we have on the website that you have to do. Like I just mentioned, teams must have a system to record cards earned in every match and track points. It's your responsibility. If you're not sure what happened, the TSL and or manager should approach the referee after the match to verify who got what cards. And then you check the website for the cards and the points. And if you find a discrepancy, contact your club rep. That's why I said you want to check the game report after the game to make sure that the who got a red card or a yellow card is correct number, player name, all that is confirmed, so that the wrong person isn't getting those points. And at the end of the day, if you have an issue with the referee, contact the referee. Generally speaking, at the game is not the time to confront. Not generally speaking, never is it the case that you should be confronting the referee. So if after the game, it's just check the game report and then quickly exit the field. Pick up your trash, get everything out of there. But your idea is to get parents away. If there's a situation where you feel like it's escalating, it's to get everyone away from the referee and out, so that they don't get any penalties. The team manager can help with that. The sit-out form is used to document when a player sits out and signed by the opposition. So you advise the referee of a sit out and note it on the team roster, and then the other team can confirm it, and then you email the form to the NCSL. You want to keep a copy yourself. Players must not dress or participate in any fashion, but can be a spectator on the sideline. Coaches and officials, though, cannot be at the game at all if they do get a red card. So if I was a coach and I got a red card, I can't be on the sideline, on the other sideline. I have to be more than 100 yards away from the pitch, 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after the match, and no contact with the team or bench. And I believe this is what the sit-out form looks like. Right now, so it's a fillable PDF. It's on the website underneath NCSL frequent asked questions and forms. So if I went to the site. So you can use this form, print it out, or fill it out prior to, and then print it out, and make sure everyone fills it out, and then submit it or email it back to or give it to your club rep to email to us. As I mentioned, do not confront the referee. Do not let any of your parents confront the referee. Like I said, the U.S. Soccer is cracking down, so parents, players, all can be lifetime ban, and it has happened. Parents can no longer watch their kids play because of lifetime bans. So make sure you are vigilant, and that TSL is helping to keep the game day experience positive and respectful. In the event of a referee no show, we want the game to be played. So you must, if you agree to play, the score will stand, and there's no protest about using it, replaying the game if it didn't go the way you wanted to. If not, we'll reschedule the game if you decide not to play. But we encourage you guys to play, especially the younger ones. Have a volunteer or somebody who maybe has trained as a referee can help out. And that's about it. So helpful resources, like I said, on the website on the left-hand side, there's tons of resources and links. This deck, this video, your club rep, all those are resources that you can have. Like I said, the more information you have and with experience over time, you'll be able to help your teams get prepared for the season and obviously manage the game experience, and be the communication link between the club rep and the league. Any questions?
Neil, real quick before we get to that, do you mind going back over to the website and showing people where the FAQ section
Yes.
is? I mentioned it a lot in the chat.
Yep.
So see the logo at the top, there's that banner there that says recreation, travel, clubs. If you hover over the travel and slide down, sorry, go back over to travel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right there. So at the very bottom of that is the FAQ. There's the discipline committee. Somebody asked about finding the sit outs. Oh, discipline committee shows the carryover sit outs right there at the top.
Yep.
But that FAQ and forms is going to be, I gotta click again, our website. We're in the process of updating. It's older than I am, but the FAQs and forms will have links to answer a lot of the questions that you have. And the top part is really pretty much just for club reps, but that whole middle and bottom section has a lot of information about how to write the welcome email, how to find, how to track discipline points, how to update your team page, because the U12 teams and older are required to put their player rosters on. And just a lot of information. I know we threw a lot at you tonight, like drinking from the fire hose, but there are a lot of helpful links on the website. And a lot of times, if you do ask your club rep questions, they have also a lot of background and knowledge, but that a lot of times they'll direct you back to the website. So they'll save you a step just to start the website.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we do have this Q&A session next week, and it's just going to be Jamil and me answering any questions that you have. So please feel free to come back, even after you left this and kind of absorb things. If you want to watch the video again, if you want to read those with the slides again, please feel free to join us next Thursday. It's typically a kind of quick and dirty conversation, but you know what I mean, quick and easy conversation about some basic questions that you may have. I'm happy to talk with you to make the start of the season run smoothly.
Yep.
Thanks.
So open for questions now if you have them. You can unmute yourself if you do, or I think someone asked in the chat. Did I miss anything from the chat that we want to talk about?
So there have been a lot of questions about the club pass players, and we call it unlimited now because there used to be a limit, but not anymore. So if you just want to talk maybe a little more about the club pass players.
Yeah. So jumping back to club passes, where was it? So the basic thing about it, like I mentioned, is we want to facilitate when you need it, not necessarily abuse it. So it's unlimited in the sense that you're not gonna have an entire team of club pass players play the game. That's unlikely. It's probably not going to be allowed, but it would be a situation where you need a couple players here and there. And they have to be US Youth carded, and they have to be from the same club. So you can't use a player that's from another club. And age eligible is the final thing. So I don't know if there's any other any questions about that, but that's the general idea is that we allowed it. I think due to COVID, we allowed unlimited, quote unquote, but it's there is a limit in the sense that we're not going to allow you to have 10 or 12 club pass players. We have never seen, I don't think we have seen that before, but it's supposed to be used in it when you need a couple players here and there. That's the general idea. Question is, do we cut out each player pass or can we leave them all on one page? I think you can leave them all on one page. Referee, it used to be all single carded, but the referee just wants to verify the names. If it's on a page, you can just have it all on one page. MSI carded players. I'm not familiar with MSI. Yeah, MSYS.
So
Why is-
MSI, if your team is an MSI team, then you can use MSI party players.
Yes.
They have to be US youth soccer. They can't be rec players. And
So
they
USU Soccer is VYSA or Maryland State,
That's why you're right. Mhm.
and then Virginia or West Virginia. So whatever the state association is for that club or for your club, if you're in Maryland, it'll be Maryland State Association. If you're Virginia, it's Virginia State Association. That carding system underneath USU Soccer they would be registered for that state association. ECNL players need to have a separate card. They're US Club Soccer. So you would need the club would need to card them with the state association. So it could be VOSA, and there's ways to do that. The club reps will know how to handle that. We pay the referees, so you don't have to handle paying the referees. We like I said earlier, they have to submit a report in order. We work the club, the referee assigners to pay the referees. Yeah. Is there a place that shows? That's a good question. For penalties for referees abuse, yes. The penalties for it are listed in the link that I mentioned earlier. If you go to this site called Referee Abuse Prevention, this will list the consequences here in this document. So you'll flip through. It's kind of hard to see because it's a little bit small, but basically you can see that insulting, belittling, insinuating, or taunting behavior is a minimum of 2 games. Harassment, intimidation, retaliation, abusive threat, you can see it here. So the website has it all laid out in a PDF document that explains everything. So I would suggest you go to this site and read through that. Good question. Somebody jokingly said, if you want to pay the referees, they won't complain. Is there a limit to how many guest ECNL players teams can have per game? We will review if there's a situation where we feel like there's an extensive amount, we're going to review that as a misuse. Yes, because we're not in the habit of having teams use. We don't encourage teams using that a significant number, more than half probably, or maybe even a quarter. It's for when you need a couple players. Obviously, in the smaller age groups, a couple players is probably a quarter or so, but it's not to have 6 or 7 or 8 players. If they're already on the roster and they're dual roster, that's a different situation. And we had that situation where players are playing on 2 teams effectively on the same roster, and that they're on the roster, that's different. And they happen to play ECNL too, okay. But if it's for one game, players are coming down and we notice the names and it's just a one-off and the team is blowing out players, we're going to review that. Yes, 18-player roster limit for the older age groups, for 13 and up limit. Game day rosters. You can have 20, however many, 22, I think is a minimum, is the maximum for USU Soccer on the entire roster. I think ECNL or some other leagues might have 30, but game day for every league 13 and up is 18. I think we answered most of the question. Yeah, I mean, I think Olivia, you're gonna have to. I think you talk to your club reps or your club leadership about how to deal with that, because the interaction with the referees is going to be something that's going to be changed over time. I know we're used to being able to say certain things now, but I think USU Soccer is going to be cracking down. And you'll notice, I think this year, even that the younger referee is going to have a green patch to designate them as minors or even new referees. and the penalties against them are double usually. So you're gonna have, it's a change in culture. We're not going to be able to scream and yell and complain like we used to, because of what's happened. So dealing with that, especially at these ages, is something that coaches got to relearn. You can interact, obviously, but it's obviously up to the referee's discretion whether to determine whether or not they feel whether or not it's intimidating. So that line can be crossed if you're not careful. Okay, this like I said in the beginning, this recording, this presentation will be recorded or is recorded, and we'll post it to the website and send out a link, as well as send you this presentation. Like I said, there's tons of resources. Allison pointed out the frequently asked questions links all there. The club reps, your club rep, if you don't know who that is, find that out. You can ask them a ton of questions. Other team managers you can get information from as well. Anybody with experience. As you gain more experience, you realize how important your role is to the league and to your club. Just closing out here, thank you everyone for joining us. We have a Q&A in a week or next Thursday. So if there's anything from this presentation that you are not don't fully understand, come to that meeting and please ask your questions there. And we're looking forward to a successful and fun season.
Thanks so much.
One last question. Sorry, where is this brief being posted? It will be posted to the website. On the left-hand side, you'll see 2 updated links. Right now, it says Spring 2025 new team manager meeting recording and slides. There'll be 2 links right there. It'll be fall 2025 dated. Oh, you can watch the old one if you want to watch the old one. It's a lot of the same stuff. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.